Yeah, I just saw Spider-Man No Way Home. Like a lot of people, I was really hyped for this movie, but I was also very cautious and was fearing that it would be just another fan service of a film. And I haven't exactly sung high praises about the other MCU Spider-Man movies, with Homecoming being about the most generic cookie-cutter example of an MCU movie, and Far From Home, while definitely better, and I believe also got some very important aspects of as both Spider-Man as a character and this incarnation's version of him. However, the humor in this movie was terrible in my 100% subjective opinion, and I wasn't really a fan of MJ's and Peter's romance, but it was by no means awful. It just reminded me too much of a Disney Channel original movie, which is what I grew up with, being a good old Gen Zer. Also, aside from Shang-Chi, post-Endgame Marvel has varied from eh to what are you doing, you imbecile? What the Well, luckily I can say that not only has Marvel continued to up the ante after a string of tiresome movies, but this ranks very high for me among the MCU, without a doubt in the top 5. And honestly, rivaling Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse for favorite Spider-Man movies, which should really show you how highly I think of this film. The thing is, to talk about this movie and not mention spoilers is very hard, so I'll do my best to discuss them. This movie does a great job of balancing the many different elements and making it seem very natural. It makes you satisfied with 99.9% of the decisions people make in this story, and the action is really good. The pacing is also very well done. The emotional beats hit you like a freaking train. The comedy is solid about like 70% of the time, at least for me, but it's gonna vary for everyone since everyone has different tastes in comedy. It's like this movie took all the good elements from each of the previous MCU Spider-Man movies and boom, you got this beautiful child that glows radiantly, like baby Jesus. Some of the best moments in this movie are just characters talking to each other and interacting with one another. It reminded me of the first Avengers movie and why I love it so much. And that's why I think the MCU does really well with character interactions, which is ultimately why the MCU is so beloved. Because it's so cool to see all these different characters from different movies interact with each other and bounce their personalities and clash and all that good stuff. After the continuous stream of one disappointing MCU project to another disappointing MCU project, except the obvious of course, to not only see a good MCU film but honestly one of the best, it makes me so glad to see that Marvel still has it in them. I don't really believe in scores, but if I were to give this movie one, it's easily a 9 and teetering on the edge of a 10, but could really go either way. My only real problem with the film is a spoiler, so I'm letting everyone know right now that I'm going to talk about spoilers, so continue at your own peril, because there's a lot of spoilers, and we're talking like endgame level spoilers, so you've been warned. So if you're still continuing, then you have no one to blame but yourself, and if you get mad at me, then I politely ask you to go pet a tiger. If you're still mad, then go hug a hormonal bull elephant. And if that still leaves you unsatisfied, then go grab a Brazilian wandering spire. I'm sure nothing bad will happen to you at any point of this exercise. Spoilers, 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 spoilers. I get the whole message of giving a second chance to other people, and is by no means a bad one, and I think it's definitely something that we need to hear in today's society. But I think that's a little different with some people, especially if some of them have, killed people. Now sure, most of them have some kind of influence over their brain, so I accept the argument that they deserve the chance of redemption since they arguably had no control over their actions. And actually writing the script, as I'm putting it together, the message is a lot more put together than I initially gave it credit for. But the whole keep them here logic, when logically he should have just sent them home, just doesn't make sense, and I feel like Aunt May almost just kind of like pressured him into doing so. But I guess karma is a bit because Aunt May reaped what she sowed. But in all seriousness, that was actually a really sad scene that you definitely felt the anger of Peter Parker, and Tom Holland did a phenomenal job throughout the movie acting. The return of classic villains was also a great treat, especially Doc Ock and Green Goblin, who were a ton of fun, and at least Green Goblin was as evil as ever before. Most of the others are the same, with Sandman even initially helping Spider-Man to fight Electro, which indicates that he has had his change of heart at that moment. Lizard was fine, but nothing super special. Electro is definitely the most different out of all of them, and not just in design, which is thankfully for the better, but also in personality, which makes him be all cocky and way more confident and cool, aka just more like actual Jamie Foxx than some blue nerd who had great teeth. He's still just kind of the generic, I want power, but he's fine. He gets a decent chunk of the laughs from me. Doctor Strange was in it about the amount of time I suspected, and while I don't buy how they wrote him out of the story, I still understand why they did it, since he would obviously destroy all the villains considering how powerful he is, and he went toe-to-toe with Thanos. Ned and MJ were both in it for the appropriate amount of time, which I was glad, because after seeing that second trailer I was scared that it was going to be like a trio movie where it was just them three, but luckily that wasn't the case and they actually had stuff to do. MJ was actually likable in this movie, and Ned as well. He's the guy in the chair.
It's been an honor, Spider-Man.
What are you doing here? There's a dance.
I'm looking at porn.
Alright, so let's get this minor major spoiler out of the way. And I had heard rumors that Matt Murdock was going to be in it, but highly doubted it. But I guess those rumors were true, and it was pretty cool to see that reveal, which my theater went pretty crazy for. You can imagine what my theater was like during a couple other reveals later in the movie. Also, references to some of the classic meme lines such as,
"You know, I'm something of a scientist myself."
And,
My back! Oh, my back!
were both fantastic. Alright, I'm just beating off a dead horse at this point. That's how that saying goes, right? My theater went absolutely insane when Doc Ock started to sing.
If I were a rich man, all day long I'd biddy biddy bum.
Okay, I'll stop it. To absolutely no one's surprise, due to all the leaks, rumors, and best efforts of denial by Andrew Garfield, it was so awesome and cool to see both Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire return back to their roles as Spider-Man. So it looks like the leaks were true, and I was glad I was right with my stupidly popular meme, which I should check out because I'm plugging it right now. But you should check it out after this video, so yeah. The moment when Ned opens up a portal to find their Spider-Man, and the moment you see a Spider-Man in the alleyway, I knew instantly it was Andrew Garfield just by the eyes alone on his costume. And then came Tobey, and seeing these two iconic versions of the character play off of each other was every fan's dream, and honestly some of the best moments from the film is when all three of them are just talking to each other about being Spider-Man. Whether it's the serious tone of discussing the loss of a loved one, or the comedic feel of organic web shooters versus devices, or even the very real natural talk about who's the weirdest villain they ever fought. All the dialogue between the three had so much chemistry, and it just comes off so naturally, not forced, with maybe the exception of the death of Harry in Spider-Man 3 being played off for laughs. Each of the other Spider-Man were given just enough time to shine, but not steal the light from Tom Holland. And I legit almost cried when Andrew Garfield got to save MJ as she falls, showing the parallels between them, and how he was just so happy and relieved that you could see the emotion on his face and how powerful it was for him. And that really hit hard with the emotional sucker punch of just seeing him just being so grateful that he was actually able to save someone like that. I like how when they team up, they all kind of suck, especially since they don't have any practice working with one another. But when they got their stuff together and jumped off the building and dove to the ground as they were swinging while yelling, I and the rest of the theater were just yelling right along like we were on a roller coaster because of the excitement. There's honestly a lot more to talk about regarding spoilers, so I'll go more into the specific lines and moments I liked in a podcast, but just know that I highly recommend, endorse you to go see this movie, because I guarantee you'll see why so many people are singing this movie's praises. And I'll see you next time, so stay safe out there. If you enjoyed this video, then go ahead and spank that like button. If you're not already, go ahead and give that subscribe button a solid whack on the rump too, in order to help with web blockage problems. Alright, peace out.